The last time we saw these guys, they played our Alt 98.7 summer camp. Nate, did you get hurt in that show?
I did.
Can you tell us what happened? As soon as I saw that, I knew the first time I saw you again, I wanted to talk about it. What happened?
At the end of our set when we're all running around and dancing and just doing the normal thing, I just rolled my left ankle, sprained it really bad.
You okay?
And, I feel like I was okay by like October.
Yeah.
But I've been doing physical therapy and just now to the point where it's not getting swollen every day and all that. So
All from that show, that performance.
yeah, so it's been a 6-month process of.
I feel bad.
Getting well, and but I wanted to get 100%.
Yeah.
And not just be like, okay, and the guy that has the huge swollen ankle.
Of course.
But
that was like a pretty chaotic, last 5 minutes. Like you were climbing.
Yeah,
you were climbing, weren't you?
I remember that.
So.
Yeah.
I was the least exciting. I was just like running backwards and in the crowd, and he was climbing the rafters.
And I think people were getting upset. I don't know, the people that were there.
Mad. Yeah.
But then Nate, our manager, was there, and Nate had gotten injured while all this chaotic stuff was happening. It's like the end of our set.
It
sucks that your ankle still hurt.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that maybe that was gonna be like a 2-week thing afterwards. I had no idea that you were still dealing with it.
It's okay. So I think we're all right now.
Well, we were talking about a little bit before the camera started rolling. I have a little 3-year-old. He was 2 at the time. He was on stage watching that show. His mind was blown. He was just like, "Is this what happens at Daddy's work? People climbing on stuff and running around." He thought it was the greatest. So
we had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. When we talked at that time, you couldn't say a lot about new music. It seemed very apparent that you guys were in it, making this new music, but it was still in the process of being made. And you don't want to talk about stuff when it's in the process of being made. But now it's made. It's done. Congratulations, new record. Pep Talks, out in May. Where to begin, obviously. There was a lot of stuff that you were saying in August that was new and different. And when it all was said and done, is that how you still feel? Are you still as excited?
Yeah, it's been the longest process for us recording. We started kind of pre-production in late April of last year, and then kind of rolled into May, and then we didn't finish up fully because we had a couple features. John Bellion and Kacey Musgraves are featured on this record, so when those features came in and we got all the masters back, it was October-ish. And it's 17 songs, so it's a lot of music, more music than we've had on any other record thus far. But up until this point, before Pep Talks, we honestly could only afford 2 weeks in the studio, and this time we had a little bit more time to kind of be super intentional about each part, each song, kind of follow each song, and really kind of cultivate this record that we're super, super proud of and stoked to kind of share with the world. As far as the content goes of the record, it's a pretty personal record to me. I grew up in a small town in Tennessee, it's Cookeville, Tennessee, where everything's kind of focused on the family and focused on, the smallness of this Southern culture that you kind of hear about. It's probably pretty stereotypical of me. Really sweet town, really good town of people, and really grew up very close to my siblings, my cousins and aunts and uncles and grandparents. And honestly, until we started traveling a lot, I hadn't really gone far outside the Southeast before.
Yeah.
So anyway, all that to say is very close to my family, and in the last few years, my family has just kind of fallen apart, and it kind of cultivated into this divorce of my parents. That was kind of a pretty explosive, thing for our family, and even as a 26-year-old at the time, was just very shocking. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where it's just oh my gosh, just rocked my world. I can't imagine what it would be like if you were 10 years old or 13 years old or 5 years old, or you grow up, in these different situations or whatever. So a lot of the content that was coming out was in the middle of us kind of traveling. We, up until this last year when we were focused on the record, we would do 250 shows a year. And so in the middle of kind of the family drama happening at home, in the middle of traveling and working harder than we'd ever worked, just with the last few record cycles, it just was this record and these songs kind of helped me process through what I was kind of going through.
Well, I was going to say, it seems like a lot mentally, because on one hand you have career, the band, this thing that you worked so hard on for so long is taking off. Things are going very, very well. You're playing as many shows as you're playing. But on the other side, there is this family thing, which is obviously a huge part of your life as well, which is not going so well. And so it feels like a strange dichotomy, and that worked its way into the songs, I assume, quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, and these guys agree with this as well, is like a lot of the ways that we've been able to process life is through music and songwriting or any creative outlet. Really, I feel like it helps people like me who kind of tend to bottle stuff up.
Yeah.
Just get it out and expose it, and not let it kind of fester and turn into like other bad habits or whatever that they can kind of be easily to fall into, especially on the road. So a lot of times, like, music can be so healing, and hopefully, that's what we're trying to bring to the world, is maybe my story could help somebody else. It's
great. It's great. Well, you guys have been very open about all this. There's a special tour that's happening in April. I think it's 6 shows where you guys are not just and correct me if I'm wrong, are you guys actually playing music at the shows, or is it just a playing of the record and kind of talking about the stories behind the record? How's it going to work?
It's going to be a little bit of both.
Okay.
So we'll listen to the actual recordings of a good bit of the songs and talk about them, and then we'll play some acoustic stuff and just kind of hang out for a little bit. Yeah, try and make it as intimate as possible.
Yeah, you haven't done it yet. In your mind's eye, like how do you see it playing out? I mean, is this a bunch of people like sitting in a circle hanging out? Are you guys up on stage? Yeah, like I can see
fire pit.
When I read about it, I was just like, there's a lot of different ways this could be set up. Like, how do you see it like one of those shows playing out? Because they're special. I've not heard of a band doing this sort of thing before.
I think it's a little out of our comfort zone too.
Yeah.
Like we know that, like, going into it, because like all we've ever done is just like get up there and just exert a lot of energy and bring this like kind of hype to the room. But I think this is going to be cool for us because we can really like tell the story to people and experience that intimately within each song. And that's one of the ways that I personally really connect with music, is when somebody says like, this is why I wrote this song, and then plays it. And I think that's like a deeper way to connect with our fans and people that like want to hear it. So it should be cool.
Absolutely. I think it will be very cool. Again, there's just 6 of them. I'm bummed none are on the West Coast. Looks like they're all East Coast things. But you guys want to extend that tour, which I feel like is a question you probably get asked a lot. Hey, you guys want to play a few more shows? Extend that tour? By all means. Obviously, the timing was impeccable. You did a song with Kacey Musgraves, and she won a bunch of Grammys. Nice work, Kacey Musgraves.
Yeah,
good job.
We totally planned that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys had that, like when you started pre-doing the April stuff with the record, you had that all in the works. How do you know Kacey? How'd that come together? And story behind that?
Well, she's kind of been a queen of Nashville and East Nashville, and kind of like I don't know, we've always kind of connected with what she's doing in Nashville, because it's so hard for people to even like pin down like what her genre is or what her like. Obviously, she has a little bit of the twang or the Texas like kind of country, but then she also, you can definitely hear kind of like more of the old school country in there, but also hints of like pop and rock. And I don't know, I was just obsessed with her last record, and I saw her like 5 or 6 years ago. We went to Bonnaroo for the first time in Nashville, and ever since that show, I've really kind of fallen in love with her music. And so anyways, we had this song, and I was kind of in the middle of, I was personally, I think you guys were too, right? Y'all are pretty obsessed with her last record as well. And as I was writing the song, it was kind of a sad song, just about my mom kind of moving stuff out of our parents' house, kind of growing up. And as I was kind of writing it, I was like, oh gosh, this sounds so influenced, at least from my perspective, from the Kacey record. And so when we got to record the song in the studio, we're like, man, it would be crazy if we could get Kacey to sing on this.
Sure.
And that was like a lofty goal. I was like, there's probably no way. At that point, it wasn't even like she was up for the Grammys or anything like that. It was just more like I was just obsessed,
of course, yeah.
With who she was an artist. It'd be kind of hard to do. And then we hit up our team and said, hey, we know we're kind of shooting for the moon here, but can we just send it over to see if she likes it? I think she was in Asia at the time. She heard the song, and I think immediately was like, I definitely want to sing on this and record on it. And talked her into singing an actual verse. I think she was more like wanting to sing kind of like in the background or whatever. It was like, no, we want you to sing a verse and a chorus. So it was really special for us,
Good.
for her to kind of be a part of that story.
Good. Is the and again, I'm embarrassed that I've only been a couple of times and I don't know as much about the music community as I should, but I get the sense that the Nashville music community is at least collaborative in a sense, and even if you don't know specifically someone, the fact that you have that is like we're both kind of from the same area. It's like, yeah, I'll give them a hand. I'll help them out. Do you feel like that helped at least a little bit, or?
I think it for sure, sure helped.
Totally. It's a small, I mean, Nashville's got like a, I don't know, like a home, everybody's like transplanted from, a lot of people are transplanted from different cities, but it has like a hometown small vibe, and there's a lot of neighborhoods and pockets, and I think it's just normal to be a neighbor with another musician and want to collaborate on that kind of thing.
It's definitely been the running joke the last couple of years. If you're a band in New York, if you're a band in LA, and you're moving, that's the only place you're moving.
Right.
Like everybody's going to Nashville, and I'm sure it's something that you guys have felt over the last couple of years as well. So now that we are, I mean, record's not out yet, but the record is coming. You're at this point in the process. What are you most looking forward to now that you're about to do this whole thing again? You're about to go out and play all these shows again and release the album. And is there a part of that process that's most exciting for you right now? What are you most stoked on?
I think for me, it's always the live show.
Sure,
I mean,
like
we kind of maybe, for good or for better or for worse, we make records thinking about our live show and how songs or whatever can impact live, and to kind of have that moment with people that are supporting our music that kind of feels like family in a way that, you know, a lot of these songs, like I said, are kind of painful and personal, and the record kind of dives in more into that. But to have those songs that you can kind of connect with someone on a human level, there's nothing like seeing, you know, a 40-year-old dude or a 12-year-old girl or anywhere in between sing these songs like that. You know, they wrote them themselves.
Sure.
There's nothing like that for me. I'm really, really excited about. So the record will be out a couple months before our headlining show, our headlining tour. And so the last time with Full Cop and Roll, we went like, we were on tour like the week that the record released.
Yeah.
So we were playing all these new songs, but nobody, you know, it was like everybody was kind of coming to know them as we were playing them.
Absolutely.
So we wanted like a couple months for the record to kind of sit with the fans and then be able to kind of play the songs live. So that's what I'm most excited about.
How much of it have you played live already? How many songs have made their way out into the world?
We've
Just like 3.
Yeah, 3 or 4. Last week with South by, we played Pictures acoustic for the first time.
Cool.
Don't know what that will look like necessarily on the full stage, but we've done a couple others, and it's been really fun. Just kind of, I don't know, there's been so much vision and thought put into this whole process. I've always tried to do that, but again, the amount of time and ability to be so meticulous, it's really exciting to be thinking more and more about the full vision coming out and all that.
I always feel like it's got to be a hard thing, having worked on something for so long, and now it's done, but it's still not out there.
It's
and
like just the start.
Yeah, it's like the worst. Like, guys, we have all this stuff. We want you to have it, and you have to be at least a little strategic about it. And again, it's Tom Petty. Waiting is the hardest part.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But it will be here soon. Again, Pep Talks is the name of the album. It'll be out here in May. One last question: is there any trepidation? We've talked about how personal this record is, about having to go up and play these songs night after night and like reinsert yourself kind of into that world and capture those emotions. Is that a source of anxiety at all?
I mean, he wrote.
Sure.
the
Yeah.
words, and I think you should speak to it too. But a lot of the songs are really easy to relate to for me, and I think Brian probably feels that in a lot of ways too. And many of the people on our team that we've gotten to show it to, it's like it's his story, but it feels like my story. It feels like Brian's story, and I think this is the first record where we've had content like this, where it's tough and it's more just kind of gritty in some ways, and having to deal with that. I think I'm excited. We've always, had a team camaraderie, family spirit about what we do, but I think this is going to be fun to have to sort of check in and not just be like, how are you doing? Like, we're out. This is kind of crazy. If everything we're doing is like, how's your heart? Like, talking about this content and like having to prepare and figure out how to translate that well and honestly, but also take care of ourselves in the midst of that. Because you think about some artists that, you know, they write a song and it ends up becoming their big hit, but it's like the most depressing song in their catalog. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you deal with having to sing that every night and still being okay? And I think we're starting to get into that territory a little bit. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. I feel like these songs started out as one thing coming from a single story or perspective, but like any good piece of art, once it's out there, it kind of is adopted by the people who consume it, and they interpret it in different ways and becomes different things for different people. And so everyone will have their own special connection in different ways. Sometimes it's just the melody. Sometimes it's not the lyrics at all.
Right.
It's just the music. And sometimes people really like buckle down and listen to the words and it says, that means this to me in this way. And that's cool. That's a good point.
Yeah. And there's a lot of hope on the record too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lot of what we put out so far is
It's called
kind
Pep
of
Talks.
yeah, it's kind of the sad side of things so far. But as we continue to roll things out, we'll hit on some other themes of hope and encouragement and all that too. So, and we want to bring that across in our show, and so it'll be a really cool way to kind of really try and dive into the reality of what the story is, but finding the redemption in it, and getting to do that every night and share that with people is going to be a really special thing.
Yeah, sure. On a far less deep topic, did you guys read the Beastie Boys book?
No.
There was okay. So obviously there was a big Beastie Boys theme with the rollout of the first song off the record, with the artwork and all that. I was curious. I mean, obviously there's also. I mean, at least for me, obviously, who really knows? There's a Beastie Boys influence, at least if an attitude, if nothing else, with you guys. And I just didn't know if you'd read they wrote their memoirs and they came out last year.
Okay.
The best
sweet.
book I've read in
We'll have to go
years.
check that
It's
out.
gigantic. It's like that thick, but it's just personal essays from the two guys
Oh, that's sick.
that we have left. And so I
Check that
just
out.
curious.
I know with it over my head, and then we kind of did like a what do you call it, a parody or not a parody, a thing where because it's over
remake.
my head. Check your head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like a remake.
A tip of the cap.
Yeah, a little tip of the cap.
Well,
That's
yeah,
good,
yeah,
yes.
totally cool. Well, congratulations on the record. Obviously, so much time and effort and thoughtfulness went into it. We've gotten to hear a couple of songs already. We can't wait to hear all of them. I had no idea there was 17. That's gigantic. That's a huge record,
Really
especially in
excited about
2019. Like usually the label's like, "We'll hold a few of those songs back. We'll just give them 10 for now." So thank you for the 17
Yeah.
for sure. And yeah, record's out in May. It's called Pep Talks. Band will be out in the fall, right? That's when like the big headlining tour, like we said.
Yeah, we're gonna be at the Wiltern here
October.
in October. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely
That's fun.
cool. It's Judah and the Lime, all 987.